Before we started recording today, you said something that I haven't been able to stop thinking about.
Did I?
Yes, you said that success doesn't necessarily make people happier, it simply magnifies who they already are.
I still believe that's true.
That's a fascinating perspective. Most people spend years chasing success because they assume it will automatically solve their problems.
And that's precisely where I think many people deceive themselves.
Why do you say that?
Because success is often romanticized. We tend to imagine that once we earn more money, receive recognition, or achieve our ambitions, we'll suddenly wake up feeling fulfilled every morning.
But reality isn't quite so straightforward.
Not even close.
So, in your opinion, what does success actually change?
It changes your circumstances, but not necessarily your character.
Could you elaborate?
Of course. Imagine someone who constantly worries, compares themselves with others, and struggles to appreciate what they already have.
All right.
If that person suddenly becomes wealthy, famous, or professionally successful, those habits don't simply disappear.
In other words, they carry the same emotional baggage into a completely different lifestyle.
Exactly.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
We often assume external achievements create internal peace, whereas I think the opposite is usually true.
Meaning,
Inner stability allows people to enjoy external success, not the other way around.
that's a subtle but important distinction.
I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions in modern society.
Do you think social media has contributed to that misconception?
Without a doubt,
In what sense?
social media encourages us to compare our behind-the-scenes reality with everyone else's carefully edited highlight reel.
That's true.
We rarely see uncertainty, failure, loneliness, or self-doubt.
We mostly see achievements,
Exactly.
promotions,
Luxury vacations,
expensive cars,
perfect-looking relationships,
and smiling faces.
which inevitably creates the illusion that everyone else has figured life out.
When in reality,
And many people are simply better at hiding their struggles.
do you think comparison is unavoidable?
I think comparison is natural.
But
Constant comparison is destructive.
there's an important difference.
Absolutely.
Sometimes comparison motivates us.
It can,
It encourages improvement.
provided that we're comparing ourselves in a healthy way.
What would that look like?
Comparing today's version of yourself with yesterday's, not with a stranger on the internet whose circumstances you know nothing about,
That's much more realistic.
and far kinder.
Kindness toward ourselves is something many adults seem to struggle with.
Ironically, we're often far more compassionate toward other people than toward ourselves,
Why do you think that is?
because we've somehow convinced ourselves that being self-critical equals being ambitious.
That's interesting.
But relentless self-criticism usually doesn't produce excellence.
What does it produce instead?
Anxiety,
Burnout.
chronic dissatisfaction.
Those are becoming increasingly common.
Unfortunately,
Do you think people are happier today than they were 20 years ago?
that's a difficult question,
Why?
because materially speaking, many of us have never had more opportunities,
Yet emotionally,
and many people feel more disconnected than ever before.
that's quite a paradox.
There is.
We can instantly communicate with someone on the other side of the world.
Yet struggle to have meaningful conversations with the people sitting beside us.
That's surprisingly accurate.
Convenience has increased dramatically.
But genuine connection hasn't necessarily kept pace.
Exactly.
So if success isn't the answer,
Then perhaps we're asking the wrong question.
what question should we be asking instead?
Not, how can I become more successful?
Then what?
What kind of life would still feel meaningful, even if nobody applauded it?
That's a powerful question.
I think it's one worth reflecting on.
I couldn't agree more.
And perhaps that's where real success begins, not with recognition, but with clarity.
That's a wonderful thought.
Because once you know what genuinely matters to you,
You stop living according to everyone else's definition of success.
exactly.
And I think that's the perfect place to pause before we continue.
In the next part, I'd like to explore something even more controversial.
Whether intelligence actually leads to a happier life, or whether it sometimes becomes a burden instead.
Before the break, we ended with a rather provocative question.
Whether intelligence always makes people happier.
Exactly.
My instinct says yes. If you're intelligent, you make better decisions, solve problems more effectively, and understand the world more deeply.
That's certainly one way of looking at it.
But I can tell you disagree.
Not entirely. I simply think intelligence is a double-edged sword.
Meaning it can be both an advantage and a disadvantage.
Precisely.
How so?
Highly intelligent people often recognize possibilities that others never consider.
That sounds beneficial.
It usually is.
But
They also tend to recognize risks, uncertainties, contradictions, and consequences long before anyone else does,
so they're constantly thinking ahead.
sometimes to an exhausting degree.
Would you say they overthink?
Frequently,
Isn't careful thinking a good thing?
up to a point,
Where does it become a problem?
when reflection gradually turns into paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Exactly.
Spending so much time evaluating every possible outcome that no decision ever feels safe enough.
That's remarkably common.
I've experienced that myself.
I think most thoughtful people have.
Sometimes I envy people who make decisions quickly.
Me too.
They appear so confident.
Or perhaps they simply accept uncertainty more comfortably.
That's an important distinction.
Confidence doesn't necessarily mean certainty.
Explain that.
Truly confident people don't believe they'll always make the right decision.
Then what do they believe?
They believe they'll adapt if the decision turns out to be wrong.
That's a completely different mindset.
It shifts the focus from perfection to resilience.
I like that.
Most of us spend far too much energy trying to eliminate uncertainty.
When uncertainty is simply part of life.
Exactly.
Do you think our generation struggles with uncertainty more than previous generations?
In some respects, yes.
Why?
Because we're constantly presented with endless choices.
That's true.
Think about it.
I'm listening.
Hundreds of career paths,
Thousands of university programs.
millions of opinions online.
Unlimited information.
Ironically, abundance often makes decisions more difficult.
That's called the paradox of choice, isn't it?
Exactly.
The more options we have,
The more afraid we become of choosing the wrong one.
which sometimes prevents us from choosing anything at all.
Precisely.
Do you ever wonder how much of modern stress comes from having too many possibilities?
Quite often.
That's interesting because people used to dream about having unlimited opportunities.
Yet unlimited opportunities often come with unlimited expectations.
That's beautifully put.
We begin believing we should optimize every decision.
The perfect career.
The perfect partner.
The perfect city.
The perfect investment.
The perfect life.
But perfection is an illusion.
And chasing it can become exhausting.
Exactly.
Here's something I've been wondering lately.
Go ahead.
Why do so many successful people still feel dissatisfied?
Because achievement and fulfillment aren't synonymous.
Could you expand on that?
Achievement answers the question, did I reach my goal?
And fulfillment.
Fulfillment asks, was this goal actually worth pursuing?
Those are profoundly different questions.
Many people don't realize the difference until years later.
Sometimes after sacrificing relationships, health, or peace of mind.
Unfortunately,
Have you ever pursued something simply because everyone else seemed to value it?
more than once.
Really?
Absolutely.
What happened?
I eventually realized I was chasing someone else's definition of success rather than my own,
That's surprisingly easy to do.
especially in a society that constantly tells us what we should want:
Bigger houses,
higher salaries,
more followers.
greater recognition.
Yet none of those things automatically produce contentment.
Exactly.
So what does?
That's probably the most important question of all.
Do you have an answer?
I don't think there's a universal answer,
Fair enough.
but I do believe meaning comes from alignment.
Alignment.
When your daily actions reflect your deepest values,
That's a wonderful definition.
if your priorities and your lifestyle contradict one another,
You'll probably feel dissatisfied no matter how successful you appear.
precisely.
That's something worth thinking about.
I couldn't agree more.
In the final part, I'd like to explore one last question.
Which is,
If you could go back 10 years and give your younger self only one piece of advice, what would it be?
now that's a conversation I'm looking forward to. That's an interesting question.
Which one?
If I could go back 10 years and speak to my younger self for just 5 minutes, what would I say?
Exactly.
I've actually thought about that more than once.
Really?
Yes, I think everyone reaches a point where they wonder what they could have done differently.
So, what would you tell your younger self?
I'd tell him to stop treating life like a race.
That's surprisingly simple.
The advice itself is simple.
But living by it isn't.
Precisely.
Why do you think we're always in such a hurry?
Because we're constantly comparing our timeline with everyone else's.
You mean social expectations.
Exactly.
Graduate by a certain age.
Get a good job immediately.
Buy a house.
Build a successful career.
Get married.
Start a family.
Retire comfortably.
It's almost as though society hands us an invisible checklist,
And if we fall behind,
and we convince ourselves we've failed.
even when we're making meaningful progress.
That's the tragedy.
Do you think people spend too much time worrying about where they should be,
Without question.
instead of appreciating where they already are?
Exactly.
Looking back, what's something you wish you had worried less about?
Other people's opinions.
That's a common answer.
But I don't think people truly understand how much energy they waste seeking approval.
Approval from family,
Sometimes.
friends,
Absolutely.
society.
Constantly.
Why do you think approval is so addictive?
Because acceptance has always been connected to survival.
That's an interesting psychological perspective.
Thousands of years ago, being rejected by your community could literally threaten your survival.
Today, the consequences are obviously different.
Yet our brains often react as though criticism is still a life-threatening event.
Which explains why negative comments affect us so deeply.
Exactly.
Especially online.
Social media amplifies that tendency enormously.
One negative comment can overshadow 100 positive ones.
That's called negativity bias.
Our brains naturally remember criticism more vividly than compliments.
Unfortunately,
So how do we overcome that?
by remembering something incredibly important.
What's that?
Not every opinion deserves equal weight.
Explain.
Imagine receiving career advice from someone whose life you wouldn't actually want.
That's a powerful example.
Why should their opinion determine your decisions?
It shouldn't.
Yet many people allow complete strangers to influence their confidence.
That's surprisingly common.
Confidence, in my opinion, isn't believing you're extraordinary.
Then what is it?
It's trusting yourself enough to keep moving even when you feel uncertain.
I love that definition.
Most confident people still experience fear.
Really?
Of course,
Then what's different about them?
they don't wait for fear to disappear before taking action.
They move despite it.
Exactly.
That reminds me of something I once read.
Go on.
Courage isn't the absence of fear.
It's acting in spite of fear.
Exactly.
I think that's true in almost every aspect of life.
Careers.
Relationships,
Starting a business.
learning another language.
Especially learning another language.
Most people don't fail because they're incapable,
Then why?
because they give up too soon.
That's painfully true.
Progress is often invisible in the beginning.
Like planting a seed.
Exactly.
For weeks, it seems as though nothing is happening.
Yet beneath the surface,
The roots are growing.
and one day everything changes.
That's a beautiful metaphor.
Learning works the same way.
You don't notice improvement every day.
But 6 months later,
You suddenly realize conversations that once felt impossible now feel effortless.
that's one of the most rewarding experiences anyone can have.
Speaking of learning,
Go ahead.
if someone listening today feels discouraged, what would you say to them?
I'd remind them that fluency isn't a destination.
Interesting.
It's a lifelong journey.
Even native speakers continue expanding their vocabulary.
Exactly.
So perfection shouldn't be the goal.
Communication should.
I couldn't agree more.
The purpose of language isn't to impress people.
It's to connect with them.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And perhaps that's the biggest lesson we've discussed today.
Success.
Intelligence,
Confidence.
even happiness,
None of them come from pretending to be someone you're not.
they come from understanding yourself a little better every day.
That's a wonderful place to end today's conversation.
I think so too.
Thank you for joining us.
We hope this discussion challenged the way you think and introduced you to some advanced English vocabulary and expressions along the way.
If you enjoyed this episode, keep listening, keep questioning, and keep learning.
Every meaningful conversation expands not only your English.
But also the way you see the world.
Until next time,
Take care of yourself.
stay curious
Keep growing.
and never stop learning.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.